Hi, everybody. I'm Chad Koel. Welcome to another edition of the Northland Outdoors Podcast. We've got a great conversation for you today. Really fun one. This guy I've known for many, many years, a veteran broadcaster in the Northern Red River Valley, and now a professional in retirement, a professional fishing guide, so it hasn't slowed down a bit. Curt Quesnell is our guest on the Northland Outdoors Podcast, and we're going to talk all about his great career behind the microphone and now what he's doing chasing fish as a professional charter captain and guide up on Lake of the Woods. And we'll talk all about Lake of the Woods fishing and invasive species, and it's a great conversation. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But first, before we get to that, I want to remind you, get on over to inforum.com and subscribe. Very inexpensive, but it gives you access to so much wonderful information all across the Forum Communications network and including everything Northland Outdoors. So make sure you get over there and get signed up. And also, don't forget to tune in Sunday nights, 10:35 to the Northland Outdoors TV show. And we've got another great episode coming up this week, so you don't want to miss that. Now, without further ado, let's join my friend Curt Quesnell right here on the Northland Outdoors Podcast. So if you spend any time in the Red River Valley, especially the northern end of the Red River Valley, this guy probably got you out of bed most mornings as a morning radio host in Thief River Falls for many years. Curt Quesnell joins us on the Northland Outdoors Podcast. Curt, how are you today?
I'm great, Chad. How are you doing?
We keep plugging away, and that's all you can do now. Here's a guy. This is one of these guys. It happens to so many of guys like this. But here's a guy who worked his entire life, had a great career on the radio, and then decides to retire, and now he's busier than he's ever been because he became a professional fishing guide up on Lake of the Woods. So tell me, how was fishing?
Well, first of all I ever wanted to be was the guy on the radio in the morning, because when I grew up, my mom had a radio on top of the refrigerator in the kitchen, and that was on every morning, and without those guys, we couldn't get going. All right, so that's what I wanted to do. So I did that. 43 years later, suddenly I'm done with that, and I was retiring or moving to the lake, and I looked at what it cost to fish every day, and I said, geez, I'll be a guide. So we found some really good fishing not far away, and again, a good way to get them. And we're sitting out there. I said, yeah, when I retire, I'm gonna get my captain's license, and I'm gonna get people out here enjoying this with me, because this is just awesome. And so that's how it started. And I got my captain's license the year I retired from radio in 2017, and I started the guide service. So this is the 8th year for the NCOR guide service, and like I'm trying to pare it down a little bit now, but I've been as busy as I wanted to be since the very first year, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, let's backtrack just a little bit. How did you end up? You had this dream of being on the radio, so take us through that. How did we get there, and how did you end up in Thief River Falls?
Well, I was like I said, probably 4 years old, and I realized that's what I wanted to do. So I had to hurry up and get through school and graduate from high school and go to broadcast school. And I started out in Watertown, South Dakota was my first job in 1973. And I had 7 jobs in my first 5 years in the business. Then a guy that I worked with in Princeton, Minnesota, was building this station up in Thief River Falls, brand new station. And he goes, come up there with me. And I said, you bet we'll do it. So we built the station from the ground up. We poured the sidewalk, hauled in all the equipment, got it all going ourselves, did all the programming, got that all ready to go, and it was our station. We did that in 1979, at the end of 1979. And I love Thief River Falls. I like the area. I had kids getting ready to go to school, so I said, I don't want to move around the country anymore. So we stayed in Thief River Falls for 37 years. So it was the perfect way to finish your dream off. For 37 years, doing just what I wanted to do, where I wanted to do it. And when I first moved to Thief River Falls, I didn't realize that Lake of the Woods was only an hour and a half away. So we got up there, and I said, wow, Lake of the Woods. I figured that was a legendary place that no one ever gets to really go to. But heck, that was our everyday fishing ground. So I've been fishing Lake of the Woods for 44 years this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So the love of the outdoors part of it, I know you did. You had your outdoors radio show as well as what you did in the mornings. And did the love of the outdoors come prior to being in Thief River, or living in that part of the world create a love of the outdoors for you?
I always loved to fish. When I was a little kid, I could fish in the boat all day and not squawk or kick too much about it. So I always loved that. After I got into radio, it was tougher because I was in South Dakota, I was in Missouri, I was in North Dakota, and I didn't know anybody or where the spots were or how to fish or where to fish. So I slowed down those first 5 years, but then we got to Thief River, someplace where I was going to be more stable and stay put for a while. And then we started hunting. Thief River Falls area is a great deer hunting area. That was, I mean, that's really a big deal there. So we hunted deer for quite a while. Back in the late 90s, there was a couple tough winters. The deer were all gone. I think there was probably chronic waste disease or something, so they were getting rid of the deer. So I kind of quit deer hunting then and realized that the opening day of deer season was a great day to be on the lake fishing, because that's late fall and fishing's outstanding. So I haven't hunted deer for a while, but I really enjoyed doing that. But boy, it's nice if you can be out in the lake fishing in that time slot, because the later you get into fall, the colder it gets, but the better the fishing is. So it's worth it to be out there if you can.
So let's talk about Lake of the Woods now. Obviously, the proximity drew you there. What is it about that fishery that is something that you fell in love with? What is it? Diversity? Is it different ways to catch them all year round? What is it about Lake of the Woods?
Thief River Falls was 90 minutes away from Detroit Lakes, 90 minutes away from Bemidji, and 90 minutes away from Lake of the Woods. So we'd run down to Bemidji, we'd run over to DL, and we'd fish, and you're kind of wondering where to go and what to do all the time. And then I said, we've got Lake of the Woods there, and that's, you can't hardly lose or miss there. So let's just concentrate on that. So me and my fishing buddies just started concentrating on Lake of the Woods. And then you learn more of the lake. I fished pretty much the whole lake. I had a place at Spring Steel on the Warroad end of the lake, and I had a place along the river on the east side of the lake. And now I'm at Long Point, which is right in the middle. If you've got a Lake of the Woods map handy, by the way, just open it up. You'll see where Long Point is. You're right out in the middle of the lake, and you're close to everything. Every legendary fishing spot on Lake of the Woods is 10 or 12 miles away, tops, from Long Point. So the more I fished Lake of the Woods, the more I learned about it, the more I understood about it. I said, well, there's really no reason to go anywhere else.
Yeah. Let's talk, how has the bite been this year? We had some water fluctuations the last few years. We had big flooding a couple years ago, and then less last year, and all of that. How has the bite been on Lake of the Woods?
It's been real good. The 2 years ago, we had floods. Last year, the water was low. Last fall, the water was low. This spring, the water was low. But then we got rain. The weather was terrible this spring, but fishing was good. Lake level kept coming up, and all the way through July. Now, through the 4th of July is pretty darn good, pretty steady. The only thing that can mess it up for you is bad weather, wind and rain and the like. We have a lot of that, but when you get out fishing was good. I usually, right after the 4th of July, hit a spot where the conditions are changing, and we'll probably get to this later, but I don't like to change. My goal is to find the one thing to go and do every day, and I'm pretty close, but it changes in July. I've got to change tactics a little bit. Fishing is still really good, and August is even more extreme. So we're there now, and it's just different. If you can adjust, you can stay on top of fish pretty easily on Lake of the Woods year round. So this year, it's been real good.
So I was just up there about a week ago with you, and we went out and had a great day on the water and caught a ton of fish. But you opened my eyes, because I know Lake of the Woods as well, not as well as you. And this time of year, that huge basin is loaded with fish, 35, 37 feet, that flat mud out there. And all the guides are going out there, all the launches are going out there, but pretty much to a man, they're trolling, they're pulling something fast because it's such a featureless, huge area, and there's fish everywhere. But not this guy, folks. He's got a few spots. If we went out and we sat in one spot all day, couldn't see another boat anywhere around us, and vertically jigged these fish out on the flat and caught them like crazy. And it really was an eye-opener to me. How long have you been doing that, and when did you decide, I'm not going to go pull stuff around out there, I'm going to sit on these fish and let them come to me?
Well, there's kind of some history there, too. I came up to Lake of the Woods, and we had a place on the War Road side. A trailer court there, very nice, at Spring Steel, and all we did was pull spinners. 100%. That's all I fished for 20 years was pulling spinners. Every day, from opener till you put the boat away in the fall, pulling a spinner. Some wind, didn't matter. No wind, didn't matter. Pulled a spinner. And one day I just had enough. I said, there's got to be something else to this fishing. People were starting to pull crankbaits. People were down rigging a little bit. I even sold my place at the War Road side and bought one over along the river at the Riverbend Resort. There's a trailer house there that had year-round water, which is great for in the wintertime for ice fishing. Went over there and they fished differently. There were some people there that were jigging, and I always wanted to do that. And I just didn't have any confidence in it. So we started jigging a little bit more over there. We still pulled spinners, but not so much. And then you saw how good the jigging was through the fall, early in the season. We did that. We figured opening day or shortly after that, you had to start pulling the spinner again. Well, I realized, no, you don't have to. So then after a few years at Riverbend, we found this place at Long Point, and that's kind of been my goal all along. It is the perfect place to fish Lake of the Woods. Now, there's good fishing everywhere, all over the lake from side to side. I'm not dissing either side, but Long Point is very nice because you're a mile away from the deepest water in the lake off the shore of Long Point. And we would get out there in 30 feet of water. We discovered that, first of all, ice fishing. We went out 30 feet and caught fish jigging all winter. That opening day of open water fishing, well, let's go try it again. And we sat there all summer in the same spot. And I said, well, this, again, going back to where I started guiding, well, I can bring people out here. They'll love it. This is a blast. And over the years, that spot isn't what it used to be, because darn it, things won't stay the same. But we just moved a little deeper, and we could use the now in August. It can deteriorate, but you get on that deep water, you drive around, and you find the fish. I've got a bunch of marks out there that I can go to, and that's usually where they are. But if you drive around, suddenly you see a bunch of fish. Stop there, anchor up, and vertical jig over the side of the boat. Even in August, you're going to catch fish.
Well, what was it?
Beautiful.
No, and we did that very thing. I don't think we hit more than 2 or 3 spots, in that whole day. And what was interesting was, I think a lot of people don't realize, is those fish are roaming and moving as well. Now we were spot locked in one spot, and it was fun to see how they would come in waves. You'd wait a little while, and then all of a sudden on the sonar, here come the fish, and larger size and smaller, and then you'd catch them, and then maybe wait a little bit. You've got it dialed down too, so much as we'd have a little wind change, or the wind would die, and Curt would say, well, it'll be 45 minutes or 40 minutes. And he was right. They would slow down for a while, but then all of a sudden they would start coming, and we just stayed and waited for the fish to come to us. So it was very interesting.
Confidence is such a huge deal. If I'm out with 2 guide clients in my boat and I see the wind change, well, I know it's going to be a while before we start getting bit again. So I'll just say, well, like I told you, it's going to be 45 minutes. It might be a half an hour, it might be an hour, but don't expect much for a while. Then if it does happen sooner, well, then everyone's really happy. But it's been that way for since before I came to Long Point. When I got to Long Point, I thought, if this is right, wouldn't it be great if you could have 5 spots and fish only those 5 spots, year round? For me, I won't get bored doing it. And I've got different people fish with me all the time with guide clients. They don't know that I've been there 100 days in a row.
Right.
And
Right.
the fish are nice. The fish are big up here. You catch a lot of little fish. It's Lake of the Woods. You catch a lot. Now, we didn't catch a ton of little fish the day you were there, though, did we? But usually you do, and that keeps you busy. At least, you're catching. But usually you get a little fish, and you're going to get your nice fish. And every day you're going to get a couple of chances at a nice fish in the slot, 23, 24, and 25. And even those Lake of the Woods monsters, 30, 31, 31 and a half, they're out there, and they get really busy in the summer.
Yeah. And for those of you watching the video version of the podcast, we're throwing up some shots and some pictures of some of the fish that Curt's had in his boat just even this year, and just absolutely beautiful fish. What I like about it, Curt, is that you keep it simple, and that I think today, this day and age, fishing gets, like everything else, seems to get way overcomplicated. We've got, all the technologies that are out there now, and I know you're using that stuff, but I like the fact that you can still keep fishing simple. A lead head jig, a shiner, and bam, have all the fun you want. You don't need 3 Cannon downriggers and all of this stuff to go out there and catch fish.
Even the people who experienced fishing come up, they loved it. They say, we're going to pull spinners. I said, now we're going to jig. Oh, good. We'll jig. Yeah. And I get a lot of people who aren't real experienced. I say, here you go. Drop it over the side of the boat. And remember my knot deal. You take a bobber stop. Before people get there, you know how deep you're going to fish. So you put the bobber stop up so it's just in front of the reel, and say, let the line out till you hit the bobber stop. And so they've got that down. The only problem is keeping your bait close to the bottom, because that's what we're looking to do. With that line, everybody can fish it. And even the guys that really fish a lot, they say, well, that's a good idea. Because I've got it on mine. I'm busy looking around and stuff, so I let the line out till I get to that. Then I know it's time to start paying attention. But I've tried to keep it simple, and because if you've got something that works as often as this works, like I said, in August, it's a little bit of a stretch, but in May, June, July, and wait till you get to the second half of September and all the way through October, it is lights out. If you don't freeze to death, you'll be so happy you caught all those fish. It makes it worth the day out.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to come back up in the fall, I think. Now, let's you're really involved too. Another one of the things that you're very heavily involved in is in AIS education, invasive species prevention, and trying to spread the word with folks about invasive species. Tell me a little about that.
Well, I started with the local soil and water conservation districts 8 years ago. I think the year before I came up here, when I was still back on the radio, we did some stuff with them. When I came up fishing, I said, look, I'm up here at the lake, and this is where people fish. I'll wrap my boat and my truck. There'll be at the boat landings. I'll be the most visible boat on the lake, and it will have clean, drain, and dry written on there. The thing I like about it is this is an educational deal where they just say, please, when you take your boat out of the water, pull the plugs. All right, your drain plug, drain your live wells, tip your motor down, drain the water out of it. It's a simple thing to do. And if you do that and take the weeds that may be on your trailer before you head down the road, that's 100% it. So when I kind of started, I thought there'd be a lot more science to it. But my whole end of the deal is talk to as many people as I can at as many boat landings, interviews like this, and say, look, this is easy to do. We can sure slow down the advance of invasive species if everyone just does this simple thing: clean, drain, and dry. So later today, not sure it'll be up, but later today, I'm going to the National Night Out event in Badette. It's in communities all over the country, and we're going to be there with all the government agencies, including the Soil and Water Conservation District, and I'll be at that talking to as many people as I can there about clean, drain, and dry. And I have the boat with, and I'll show them how simple this is. And that's what I do all summer when I'm not on the lake fishing.
And people are hard to train. We all know that, especially anglers. But it is working. You were telling me some stories that you've been at the ramps with some of the other inspectors, and you watching people do these things without being prompted.
That's right. I was amazed. It was 75% of the people who were pulling their boats out of the water were stopped at the top of the hill, getting out of the way, and walking up, pulling their plugs, and they're tipping their motors down. And the only way that people would do that is if they had heard it. And you're right, because being a fisherman, I know it's hard to get us to do something different or do something new. 100%. Yeah. That's why this has been a gentle nudge for 8 years now, and it's probably going to continue. And if we can even make gains slowly, you're still making gains. And in the meantime, science is working to get a handle on all this stuff. But in the meantime, if you can stop it from being a problem by something that simple, it's just why not?
Yeah, at least slow it down, and that's really, what we can do. And you're right, it's completely painless. There's nothing to it, so why not? Yeah. So we hate to say it, and it's hard to feel like, well, we don't hate to say it because I love ice fishing, but it is August and it's tough to think about. But it won't be that long, and that water will start getting hard again. And that's another one of the programs that got started up on Lake of the Woods that I know you are really strongly behind is your Keep It Clean program. And tell me about that and what's the reasoning behind that one?
So many people have big wheel fish houses now, and more people are ice camping, where they're taking their fish house hubs and going out and staying on the ice for 3 or 4 or 5 days. Well, all these people out there, and while you're out there, you're making some mess, some garbage, some guts, some things. And people were, and not everyone really polices themselves the way they want. Again, this is a gentle nudge. When you're out there, take everything off that you brought out with you. All your bags of garbage. Now, there's a new law in Minnesota that was, I think last year was the first year it was out there. You can't have anything sitting on the house next to your hub, next to your wheelhouse. You can't have any bags of anything sitting on the ice. If you've got your vehicle there, you have to have it in your vehicle. You've got to have some kind of a trash receptacle outside to have it in there. That's going to be a help. People don't leave stuff laying around. And that's already done a lot of wonders. Keep It Clean was easy enough. And again, it's hard to get people to do things differently if you get people to think about it as they are getting ready to go. Oh, yeah, we'll clean, drain, and dry today. Oh, yeah, well, we'll keep it clean. Walk around the fish house once, make sure we're not leaving poop bags or anything behind, or fish guts, whatever, trash. You're accumulating stuff the longer you stay out there, and just take it all with you when you go. And that's Keep It Clean. And that's also another great idea that started up here in northern Minnesota.
Yeah, and it's spread around. I know there's been lots of other places around the country that are adopting similar programs based on the success of what's happened up on Lake of the Woods with that. It's fantastic. Why do we do all this? Well, I mean, this is a great place to live and play, and we want to keep it that way. Isn't that true?
Especially with social media out. If you get out and leave, we're trying to be good ambassadors for the sport, too, for the activity of fishing. If you pull your house out, if you take your hub down and leave a bunch of crap behind you on the ice, well, someone's going to get out there and take a bunch of pictures of it. And it's going to wind up on social media, and they're going to say, look at the pigs that ice fishermen are. They do this all over the place. And if you don't conquer Rome in a day, but we keep chipping away, just get people to remember, hey, and a lot of people head out for the first time camping on ice, so probably they cleaning up after their whole 4-day affair wasn't part of something they even thought of. So get people thinking about it, nudge them in the right direction, and say, look, I'm not the police. The police might be interested in this, but I'm just telling you, it's going to be a lot better for all of us. And if it was hard to do, it was hard to do, it'd be different. But none of this stuff takes any time at all.
No. And like I said, we've got to, try to help preserve things as a guide. A guy who's been doing it for many years. I know you get young people in the boat with you and families come up to fish. How important is that for us to continue to get more young folks involved in not only fishing, but all of the outdoors?
Well, I kind of wonder.
And away from the phones.
I didn't even shut my phone off. I was going to, but I haven't had a call or anything since we started. Being outside is great. Like I said, when I was a little tiny kid, I just loved to go fishing. And I was lucky because I had the chance. And we didn't always do everything right. When I was little, but together, and my dad and the people that I went fishing with worked on it. You learn as you go. And not everyone has all the answers to everything, and hopefully, teaching a kid to have an activity like this, something they can do all their life. Now, not to be too controversial here, but I said in high school, they play football and hockey and basketball and football. They should have fishing and bowling and golf. That's what they should have. Those are things you do your whole life. And if you learn how to do that when you're young, it's something you're going to take with you. So fishing is a great thing. And I feel happy that a lot of kids get a chance to do it. And if you get a chance to take some kid fishing, do that too, because they love it.
Well, Curt, I appreciate you taking some time to visit with us today. You've been such a great, kind of outdoors and radio anchor in our part of the world for so many years, and it's great to see you still out there, bringing people out and sharing your love of the outdoors with them. And guess what, folks? There's ample opportunity to watch Curt in action. He's got his YouTube channel and some great stuff he's constantly posting. I mean, I get in the boat, of course, I got all my camera gear, but here's a guy who already had a bunch of cameras wired up in his boat. He records a lot of his stuff. There's great pictures, and I know you spend some time putting these adventures out there, so people should go to YouTube.
After I got done with the radio, I said, well, I'd kind of like to keep these reports going, and I just got a couple of GoPro cameras and move around the boat and shoot with that. I enjoy that. That's a lot of fun, and hopefully I can get some information out there that people want. Now, I know we're probably going to run out of time here, but let me tell you this. I'm setting my ways. I've got my spot. I've got my place. I've got my way to fish. I had this guy on the boat the other day that pulled out a jig and put a fake minnow body on it. I was going to fish on that. I said, well, you can't do that here on Lake of the Woods. It just doesn't work. It was the second cast. You had the 25-incher. I eat my crow here all the time. And then a jig and wrap. And I said, oh, my God, this is. And so, boy, you find something that works and you don't move around. I tried when I got away from spinner fishing to jigs. I should have, kept going. But there's a lot of ways to get you fish. I haven't got the market corner to anything. I've got something that works good for me, and it's a fun day for people who of all skill levels that like to fish. So it's great. We've got a great opportunity up here on Lake of the Woods, and it's sure something I like to share.
Well, that was one of my goals when I came up there, was to to break that old you can't teach an old dog new tricks rule. Not that you're an old dog, Curt, but hey, in full truth, I got a text a couple of days after I was up there, and it was Curt saying, I caught one on a jig and wrap. So he's trying. You're right. Still, we go out there and we do that, and that's part of what's fun about fishing too. Is you can just experiment and play around, especially when you're on a playground like Lake of the Woods.
Catching a fish on a jig and wrap is like finding a $10 bill. It's unexpected. I think it's extra fun because you really wasn't expecting it. All of a sudden, you feel that fish hit the jig and wrap. You say, what's wrong with him? There you go. He was great.
Well, Curt, I appreciate you taking the time, and good luck the rest of this season, and we'll stay in touch.
Great, Chad. Glad to hear it. Thanks for getting a hold of me. We really had fun that day, and we'll do it again.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
And thanks again, Curt, for joining us. Fantastic guy, fantastic angler, and fantastic broadcaster. The guy does it all and has for many, many years. Really appreciate him joining us. Before we sign off today, though, we're going to go from one of our great bodies of water, Lake of the Woods, and head over to the west to Devil's Lake and have a quick visit and an update on what's happening over in Devil's Lake with Executive Director of Tourism over there, Susie Kenner. Hi, Susie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk a little bit about summertime on Devil's Lake. We're into August already. What's it been like up there, especially for the fishermen who have every reason in the world to be at Devil's Lake because it's such an amazing fishery?
Well, I guess one word that comes to mind for me is fast. I can't believe I moved the calendar to August already. I feel like we're still should be in May. But we got off to a little bit of a slow start this summer, and gradually, week by week, we've picked up, and it's been a really good summer. We had our chamber fishing tournament, and we had good nettings that came out of there, and some larger fish, and so we're excited about that. And people are catching their limits, and the weather has cooperated. We were windy for a little while, and so we're just plugging along. There's still plenty of time left of summertime. So pushing everybody, now is a great time to find a room, find a cabin for a weekend, find anything for a couple days just to come on up. And weather looks like it's going to cooperate now for the next few weeks. So excited about that.
Yeah, I know a number of the guides up there that I've known for many years. Dave Randash, Johnny Candle, some of those guys. And what I like about Devil's Lake, which is really neat, is so many areas in the country or around like Minnesota Lake country or North Dakota where it's the smaller lakes. Summertime, this time of year, everybody complains it's the dog days of summer. The bite gets really tough. But when I talk to my buddies up there, and I've been up too, this time of year can be fantastic on day. There are no dog days on Devils. It seems like the bite right now is as good as it has been all year.
Yep, exactly. And some of my favorite times to host tournaments on the lake is in September. It just gets to be a phenomenal fishery, and doesn't seem like it ever slows down. And I just think it's the vegetation that we have in the system, and you can just fish here year round, which I'm really excited about, and our seasons never close either. So you can come up in the springtime, you can come in late fall, you can come in for a waterfall hunt, and in the morning and fish in the afternoon. So it's a great place to be.
Yeah. What are some of the other things? Have we got anything coming up here for the remainder of the summer that you want to tell us about?
Oh my gosh, we just came out of a staff meeting talking about all the events that we still have to come. We have our chamber golf tournament coming up here on the 16th. Right after that, we go into our community fish fry and corn feed. The corn is grown locally. The fish comes out of the system here from our fishing tournaments. So we give that back to the community. That's on August 22nd. It's a free will donation. We can't do a lot of our projects and tournaments around the area without the help of the Lake Region anglers. So all the proceeds from the fish fry and corn feed go back to the Lake Region anglers for their different projects that they do throughout the years. We've got our wine walk coming up. If you're a lady or even a gentleman that likes wine, that's coming up on September 12th. We sell out every year of our 450 tickets. Tickets actually go on sale on the 9th. So you can watch for that. That's in downtown Devil's Lake. We have our fall festival coming to downtown Devil's Lake at the end of September. But before that, I shouldn't forget about our Lake Region Rodeo that we have. It's a 3-day event. They draw huge participation and huge numbers for that all over the Midwest, which is always a fun time out at the Burdick Arena. That's the first weekend of September. Then we go into some chamber events, our holiday showcase, and we have a new event this year on Small Business Saturday, which is the last Saturday of November, which happens to be Thanksgiving weekend. But our tree was just delivered. It's a 22-foot Christmas tree that will be in downtown Bridgestone Park, and we have a ton of festivities that will be pushing out here soon that will highlight the tree lighting with fireworks and a lot of just different business activities going on throughout the day too. So if you want to come into Devil's Lake for that holiday weekend, please do. And, if you were from the area, but maybe always do your Thanksgiving somewhere else, maybe you want to come back to Devil's Lake for the weekend, because we have a lot of activity going on.
Other than that, you're pretty bored up there.
I can honestly
That's
say
awesome.
I've been here for 15 years and I've never had a day that I could call was boring around here.
Well, we love it. Devil's Lake is just a tremendous outdoor playground, and it's just go to devilslakend.com, right? We can see all of the details on all of those things, and get up to Devil's Lake and enjoy it. Susie, I appreciate the update.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll talk soon. Thanks again, Susie. Looking forward to getting back up to Devil's Lake here in a couple weeks and do some fishing myself. Also, once again, thank you to our guest, Curt Quesnell, for a great conversation today. And thank all of you for listening. Don't forget, if you want all of this and much, much more, go to inforum.com and become a subscriber. And also, don't forget to tune in to Northland Outdoors Television, Sunday nights, 10:35 on the WDAY ABC network, KSFL down in Sioux Falls. We will see you then. And until next time, I'm Chad Koel. Thanks for tuning in to the Northland Outdoors Podcast.